The Cleveland Museum of Natural History Trout Club was formed as an associated society in 1978. Since that time, the group has worked to promote public knowledge of cold water fisheries and habitats, conservation, and stream ecology.
I am just proud and honored to be here tonight to represent the Museum of Natural History Trout Club. This club is one of the preeminent trout clubs in the entire country. In fact, we are ranked favorably with clubs such as the Theo Gordon Fly Fishers, the Anglers Club of New York, the Golden Gate Fly Fishers. This trout club has hosted through the years some of the preeminent names in fly fishing. We started with Ernest Sweeper as one of our first speakers. We followed that with Lefty Cray, and Gary Borger, and Doug Swisher, and Dave Whitlock. And the beat goes on and on and on. We've been so honored to be a part of this museum. As an associated society, we work tirelessly to educate the public regarding cold water fisheries and habitat, conservation, and stream ecology. We've educated our members to value the flora and fauna of Northeast Ohio, to recognize the public lands. We keep in contact with the mission of the museum, which is always to perpetuate nature. This fly fishing club was really formed by 4 or 5 fly fishermen who came together tying flies. Hal Mahan at that time was the director of the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. He was close friends with Joe McCullough, who was the director of the Cleveland Institute of Art. The two of them, along with Larry Izzett, who was the assistant director of the Museum of Natural History, and Joe McCullough, that is Joe Gladys, who was the development director of the Museum of Natural History, came together to form a fly tying class. I was honored to be in that first fly tying class. After 1976 fly tying classes and 1977 fly tying classes, in '78 we sat down and officially formed the Cleveland Museum of Natural History Trout Club. To this day, we are continuing to honor the origins, the mission, the vision of the sponsors, the origins, the bedrock of this club. When we first sat down, someone came up with a quote from Henry David Thoreau. That quote was, "Many men go fishing all their lives without knowing that it's not fish that they're after." What we set out to do was to teach our members that it's not just about catching fish, it's the experience. It's the challenge of the drive, the total allure of the fly fishing world. And to this day, we continue to honor that tradition of our founders, and we proudly have our place in the national realm, the arc of the fly fishing world. Northeast Ohio has been blessed to be in the center of what we call Steelhead Alley. And so when you talk to people on a national level about fly fishing, they always say, well, I fished in Norway for Atlantic salmon, I fished in Quebec, I fished in the Deschutes River, the North Umpqua for steelhead. But the catch rate there don't even begin to compare favorably with the catch rate here in our Northeast Ohio streams. Quite often I'm on the stream fishing here on the Chagrin or the Conneaut or Elk or Walnut or the Ashtabula, and I run into people with an accent, and I say, where are you from? They say, well, I came from London, I came from Paris, I have Chinese, Korean anglers fishing right here in Northeast Ohio. So we are actually an epicenter of the steelhead fly fishing world. And that equates into not only the steelhead world, but our members and our Northeast Ohio residents travel the world to follow this fly fishing drive that they have. Fly fishing is actually more than just the process of catching fish. And fly fishing on a high level of excellence, and what it has is an appeal that you can start as a youth, and as you progress and as you age, you can maturate into the sport. You start with a very simple rod, reel, a line, and a fly. But from there, you start to get into entomology, because the insects have various stages. You have to do what we call match to hatch. You have to become an amateur hydrologist, a meteorologist. You have to study the folklore, the literature, the whole basis of the beginnings and the foundation of fly fishing, from Dom Juliana Berner to Isaac Walton, right up through to the modern authors, the Ernest Schwieberts and what have you. So the youth can grow, and this sport is a lifelong attraction, and it's a lifelong sport. A lot of youth today are beginning to explore things other than football and basketball and baseball, and they get into their computers all the time. So now we're trying to get youth into new things, go into the woods. But most importantly for us, we want you to get a fly rod in your hand and catch a fish. Because if you see a slam dunk or a home run, a hole in one, there's nothing that none of those compare with the take of a fish. When a fish takes your fly, and that pull, that pow, when that water explodes and that fish pulls, and it just goes right through your body, and you just rivet it. So fly fishing has that ability to just propel you into outer space dimension. So come on, it's time to go. Let's grab your rod reel, your waders, your wading staff, put your hat on, the hatch is on, pop them, hit them, pow!